not. And the words to open the show was a angry Kirby Smart, even though they won 31-17 over Tennessee. Really good performance by the Bulldogs. Carson Beck, who had just looked not good lately. He's averaging 2 interceptions a game. The last 6, he had none. He had 3 TDs. He had 346 yards. He ran for a TD. Offensive line that got mauled by Ole Miss. Didn't give up a sack. Tennessee only had 2 tackles for a loss. This is as good as Georgia's looked a little while. Week to week, you never know what you're going to get. Very important victory for Georgia. I think it puts them in an excellent position to still get in the playoff because they now have victories over Clemson, Texas, and Tennessee. They also have 2 losses, Alabama and Ole Miss. But those 3 victories, if that is what people are going to, the committee is going to factor in, is actually beating somebody, then Georgia's got quite a case. But Kirby, he didn't like the committee. He's not kissing up to him. He's not shining up to him. He said, quote, "I don't know what they're looking for. I really don't. I wish they could really define the criteria." Oh, you don't want to hear that. It takes 2 days. No, Kirby, no. Quote, and then he gets rid of the criteria. "I wish they could do the eyeball test where they come down here and look at the people we're playing against and look at them. You can't see that stuff on TV." Okay, now, dude, HD TV. I mean, these are good TVs.
I mean, yeah, I saw them plenty. I saw them pretty clearly, Dan, on the field, you know?
CFP needs better TVs. That's what he's saying. Quote, "They're not in that in-game environment." Fair enough. They're not at Ole Miss in that environment playing against that defense, which is top 5 in the country. They don't know that. They don't understand that. This is in response to Ward Manuel having to do the hostage talk on Tuesday, and of course, unnecessarily causing the committee to get berated by Kirby Smart. Ward said their offense hasn't been consistent. Lies detected, anyone?
Nope.
Okay. The committee discussed that. Okay. They've struggled with some turnovers. Lies detected? Yep. No. Defense has been solid, although in the loss to Ole Miss, we felt inconsistent offense plays a factor. With the offense struggling, their defense was on the field quite a bit. That was what he said about Georgia. That's whatever. Anyway, Kirby finished with, "They'll probably look at this week and say we just played against one of the best defenses in the country and we put up 453 and could have been more. It's just a tale each week. We're trying to be the cumulative, whole, good quality team and not be on this emotional roller coaster that's controlled by people in a room somewhere that may not understand football like we do as coaches." Now, hold on before I let you go, Pat, because I'm guessing you got some thoughts. I don't know. Kirby's not necessarily wrong. Might be right. They shouldn't be doing the damn meetings. That's my point. But on the committee, Chris Ault, former coach. Nevada, Jim Grobe, former coach. Wake Forest. Gary Pinkel, longtime coach. Missouri, and Mike Riley, former coach at Oregon State. There's also former players, Will Shield, Randall McDaniel, Ward Manuel, Michigan AD. I think he also played at Michigan. May have coached at some point too. So some of them are coaches and know ball.
The whole tenor of his thing was "you don't know ball," which has become, of course, your dismissive shorthand of the internet for anybody who says something you don't agree with. And that's going to be the tenor of, I think, what we're going to hear from the SEC and probably from other people. Notre Dame, second Big 12 team, second ACC team. Maybe Indiana, if they lose, is you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're looking at. We're really good. Fine, let everybody do their lobbying, but I'm glad, yes, we're here to give some reality checks. Thank you for running down the makeup of the committee and the people who don't know ball who actually coached a lot of ball and won a lot of games. The SEC, that's just going to be their thing. It's a different league down here, is what Kirby said, and that's going to be their selling point. And look, historically, they're correct. And this year, they're probably correct. And that's why they're going to get the most teams in, I think. Maybe the Big Ten ends up with as many teams. But the SEC has been the best conference. But that doesn't mean you just get an unlimited pass to lose games and look bad losing games. And that's kind of the problem here is, look, sorry, Kirby, you lost by 18 to Ole Miss, and Ole Miss lost to Kentucky. And okay, yes, you're all in the same SEC sphere, but it doesn't mean you're infallible. And the losses have to count. But the wins have to count, and that's why this game was so big. And they were incredibly good after falling behind 10-0. And it really looked like, oh my God, here we go again. Like the dynasty was literally crumbling in front of your eyes for a quarter because they were so bad against Ole Miss, and you figure, well, they're just going to come out breathing fire. No, they came out reeling, got down 10-0. And then it was like one play. They hit one play at the end of the first quarter, a pass from Carson Beck to Dominic Lovett. And that was all Beck needed. He needed to see one good thing happen. And then he had a scramble. And then it's like one good thing led to another, led to another, led to another. And it's like, oh, I remembered, oh, I'm good. And even good players can have confidence crises, but he came through spectacularly, and that crowd wheeled around and became a madhouse, and Tennessee did what they do when they play Georgia. They faded.
Well, Dan, when going back to the CFP selection committee and what we're going to hear from specifically the SEC, it's going to continuously be the pointing at the strength of schedule, right? And you're going to hear it over and over again. And I've got on my computer right now, I've pulled up the Sagarin kind of ratings that have everybody's strength of schedule compared to the rankings. And there's only one conference who has more than one team ranking in the single digits of strength of schedule. That didn't come out right at all. But let me just redo this.
Okay, so strength of schedule, top what, 10?
Yeah, so the SEC, basically, let's boil it down like this. The SEC in the Sagarin top 30 has 5 teams with the strength of schedule ranked in the top 10. Top 10 strength of schedule has 5 teams ranked in the top 10 strength of schedule wise. No other league has a strength of schedule in the top 10. No other league has even one team. Even one team. And you're going to keep, that's what you're going to keep.
What are the other 5? Are these like aliens?
Yeah, who are the other 5?
What do you mean?
Well, there's 10 teams in the top 10, or else the Sagarin's gone way off the map. Let me, let's start this all.
Joe, let's start it over.
Right. Or keep it. I don't know. How you doing, brother? You all right? Last week you were hungover. You put in this epic performance. You were like dialed in, just absolutely hungover. Today, what do we got?
I know.
Okay,
it's rough.
You're saying the SEC's got the best schedule. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's somewhat fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it. Let's move on there. But that's what you're going to see them continuously point to that, right? Point to strength of schedule and all the metrics and all the ratings. They do have the best strength of schedule. But as Pat said, at a certain point, you have to point back to how you played against that schedule and your losses. And you, for the most part, you and your league certainly control your schedule. So you picked 100 years ago, right, to be in the SEC. You're in the SEC, like you got to play and win your games. And I think at a certain point, we kind of have to, have that understanding a little bit. But this is going to be something that we're going to hear probably for the next 3 weeks a lot. Is schedule strength, who you played from those in the SEC. And again, I get it, but at a certain point, we all do watch the games, unlike maybe Kirby doesn't think we do, but and I think the committee watches plenty of the games. They have an iPad, Dan.
If Kirby wants to buy me a better TV, I'm happy. If Kirby sends me a nice TV,
there you go.
I'll watch all the dog games. All right.
He wants you to fly down and be there on the sidelines.
Yeah,
well, a little bit difficult. They actually are other teams that need to be watched other than SEC teams.
I think his point is fair in some ways. And Ross, you need. Here's the thing: Saturday nights you need to drink more,
Yeah.
Okay. If someone side eyes
Yeah.
you when you're getting that last nightcap, say you're preparing for the pod.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Preparing for the
Mhm.
pod. I need
Yeah.
this lucid eyes and stuff. This is not what we need. All right. Look at 6 teams trying to get bids out of the SEC. And there's a lot of talk about, well, okay, so Tennessee beat Alabama, and Alabama beat Georgia, and Georgia beat Tennessee, and Ole Miss beat Georgia. So what the hell? How do we figure this out? I'm throwing Texas and Texas A&M in here. I think this committee ranking in the end is going to come down to and I'll throw some Big Ten teams in there. Hold on, Kirby. Hold on. Who'd you beat?
Strength of schedule.
It's not, I don't even care about strength of schedule, because strength of schedule, who'd you beat? This is what I want to know. Are they going to, I don't know, say I don't care, but who you beat is, you can play a whole bunch of teams that are ranked 40th in the country and beat them all, and it's not that hard. Did you beat anybody really good? And that's what it's going to be the question. And so you're looking at Tennessee. Okay, let's take Tennessee. Tennessee, I think, is in trouble here. I don't know how they're going to do this. But Tennessee they beat Alabama. And that's it. And this cake is pretty much baked. They've got UTEP coming in, and they play Vandy. Vandy's an okay win, but they're getting beat. They lost to Arkansas, which is a bad loss, and they beat Georgia. They lost to Georgia, I'm sorry, and they beat Alabama. Alabama has got 2 good wins now, and this is where things are shifting, and this is why the committee gets themselves boxed in also. They beat Georgia, and they beat South Carolina, who is better than LSU and Missouri at this point. And yeah, it was a little wild. South Carolina should have won that game. Does the LSU victory matter anymore? They just lost big to Florida. Brian Kelly's like, do you guys even care? I mean, they're
not going to be ranked.
Right.
It's not going to be a ranked win.
Alabama beat Wisconsin. Is that they beat them a lot better than Oregon did? Does that matter? Does beating Missouri matter? Alabama beat Missouri, but does that count? But they still got 2. But South Carolina steps in and is that second good win. Georgia has beat Clemson, they beat Texas, and they beat Tennessee. Yes, they lost to Alabama. Yes, they lost to Ole Miss by 18, but they've got 3 victories right now, okay? Ole Miss beat Georgia, and they beat South Carolina. And they have 2 what I think is not good losses now. They lost to LSU, and they lost to Kentucky. Texas has got nothing. They got nothing.
Yeah.
They had 1 good win. They lost to Georgia by 15. Somehow they're second in the country. Third, they got to play Texas A&M. Texas A&M has wins over Missouri and LSU. I don't know. That counts for crap.
A&M now has 0 top 25 wins.
0 good wins.
Just like Texas.
They lost to Notre Dame. They lost to South Carolina. But Texas and Texas A&M have been taking out of this thing because they got less loss. It's a play-in game. I don't know. Why? What have you got there? And I'll extend this to the Big Ten because I think we're looking at this. Okay, we're going to look at the Big 12 is going to get 1 team. We'll get to that. The ACC is probably going to get 1 team. Notre Dame, if they beat Army, gets in. If not, Army's got a shot to kind of get you could have a 6th conference champ in there in the AAC. But let's say it's Notre Dame. They're going to be heavily favored. There's 3. And then you've got the group of 5 takes the 4th spot. That's guaranteed. So let's just say it's Boise State, who came on strong late against a decent San Jose State team. But that's it. Now there's 8 spots. There's 2 leagues. Who are you taking? It's not just Tennessee versus Ole Miss. Which one do you take? Penn State. They have a win over Illinois. That's it. They lost to Ohio State. They got nothing else on the schedule. Ohio State has a win over Penn State. They have a loss to Oregon. They play Indiana. I think the Indiana-Ohio State victor is in. Ohio State would still have to play Michigan, who's not good. Obviously, that would ruin them. But it is a rivalry game. Indiana has nothing. And 10-0, but they had nothing. It's just the way it is. But they are at Ohio State. So you're going to get down to, can Penn State or Indiana hold off these 2 lost SEC teams for a 5th spot? And there's still 3 weeks to play, 2 full ones, 1 half. How would you sort this out, whether you know ball or not? I think what Kirby should be arguing is look who we beat, not look how we look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. They have the best wins of anybody in the country.
And more of them.
And more of them. And they have played a hard schedule in terms of road games. Austin, Oxford, Tuscaloosa. Going 1-2 against, or 2-1 against that group's pretty good. I think you'd like to put them at the top of the 2-win pecking order, but Ole Miss beat them bad enough. I think you got to have Ole Miss ahead of them. And it does get tricky here. But I think you have to have Alabama behind them, even though Alabama beat them. I agree with you that I think the loser of Texas A&M drops significantly. And then we'll see if the winner of that game, if they get in the SEC championship and lose, how far would they drop? So I think those are the kind of the dynamics at play from an SEC standpoint. Big Ten, you're right that Indiana either has to beat Ohio State or has to play well in defeat against Ohio State. If they play well in defeat, they can sit there and say, well, same as Penn State, except we were on the road. Penn State was at home.
Penn State beat Illinois.
Resume, yeah. I think there should probably be, I would be more worried if I were one of the Big Ten. If I were the fourth Big Ten school, I would think I would be worried that there's going to be 4 from the SEC and 3 from the Big Ten. And that does assume that the Big 12 doesn't get a second school or the ACC doesn't get a second, which is not guaranteed at this point, but that kind of looks the way it's going. I mean, Miami and SMU could sit there, and even Clemson to a degree, and say, hey, if Miami and SMU, if you could get in.
Lose these. SMU, go ahead. I'll give you SMU. Clemson's got nothing. They lost to Georgia.
No, Clemson probably does not. Clemson needs to win the automatic bid. And then the BYU loss, I think, was really damaging to Kansas. They've been flirting with it. They were due. But now BYU takes a second loss or Colorado takes a third loss. No, they're getting one from the Big 12.
If you write it all out, like we probably have around maybe 12 teams for the at-large spots. 8 or 7? Yeah, 7 at-large spots. So you're gonna leave out 4 or 5 teams. I think it's easy to say that you're gonna leave out, the ACC runner-up in the Big 12 runner-up. Whoever loses the championship game is probably out. I mean, you just talked about SMU, Miami, and all that. I just can't see either one of those teams getting in right now that lose the ACC or Big 12 championship game. So if you eliminate them from the conversation, then you're basically left with Penn State, Indiana, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and Texas A&M, and then of course Notre Dame. That's kind of the way it's shaken out. And I think Pat's right. I think the A&M Texas loser, as shocking as it is probably out because they're not going to have a single top 25 win, likely. I mean, it would, right now, like coming out in these rankings, they don't. And we just have 2 weeks left. So it's likely they won't have a single top 25 win. In the winner, then, right, could lose the SEC championship game and potentially face a third loss if it's A&M with 1 top 25 win, right? But I would guess that they'd be in. And then, you're looking at a group of teams that just beat each other up. And I don't know how you stack these teams, Dan. You kind of went through it, but I agree with you. I think I would stack it in my top 10. That's how I stacked it, is Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Tennessee is kind of the pecking order, but I don't feel good about that. And the committee probably doesn't either. And I did a side-by-side. Dan, you already went through most of it, but I did a side-by-side of the losses each of those teams had. And then the good wins, the ranked wins. And Ole Miss has 1 ranked win. Alabama has 2 ranked wins.
Ole Miss should have 2,
Georgia
right?
has
South
3,
Carolina and Georgia.
Right, and Tennessee has 1.
Ole Miss beat South Carolina, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they won, and they won at
Yeah.
South Carolina. Yeah, so they have 2. Yeah, that's right. They have 2. Alabama has 2. Georgia has 3, and Tennessee has 1. And Tennessee has that bad loss, really at Arkansas. But Ole Miss has that bad loss against Kentucky. So it's just tight. I don't know how the committee's going to do this. I'm guessing the committee is rooting like hell for several upsets, several of these teams to be upset and lose another game, because this is going to be a mess. And then it's going to be something used by the commissioners of the SEC and Big Ten, especially the Big Ten commissioner, who I think has expressed that he wants more change in the format and in the selection process. This is going to be used, this tight, how do you determine these teams? Well, we need a new selection process to determine these teams, because we're going to maybe have this every year,
Good.
Sure.
Good. I don't want to see a selection process that rewards. Look, Indiana to me is the best story in college football other than Army. Love them. Love the entire nature of this. I love that they're all cast off. Nobody wanted them. I love every single bit about Indiana. This is nothing about the Indiana story or the Indiana program. But in general, do you want a team to be ranked 5th in the country that hasn't played anybody, that hasn't beaten anybody? Just because they're in a league that supposedly is strong. But by whatever. Now, again, they're going to show something at Columbus, but you got to beat somebody.
Yeah. It's just like Miami.
Right, but nobody's sitting there going, oh my God, because it's the ACC. Well, you're in the Big Ten. You go 11-1 in the Big Ten. You got to get in. Not when you expand the damn league so big that you didn't have to play any good teams.
Right.
I mean, look, a lot of this comes back on these conferences for the extent to which they've expanded, the elimination of divisions, and thus the fact that there's not as much head-to-head, and you can schedule your way or be scheduled by the league to a good record because you somehow avoid everybody. It's not Indiana's fault. They didn't make the schedule, but they haven't beaten anybody yet.
I think the big nature of what's going to change this week is the fact that LSU is no longer considered a good victory.
Yep.
In Missouri.
So 2 victories that we were going along, and if the season ended today, which it isn't, because you don't know, not just who will Tennessee and Georgia knock themselves out, but will LSU start to fade to the point where you're going, well, what was that? And that's the problem. And some of it's just bad luck for teams. I get it. Look, Texas has not had to play a strong schedule. They're in the SEC, and they did not have to play a strong schedule.
Yep.
But they went and played Michigan, and you go, all right, you're at Michigan. That's going to be a good victory if you beat Michigan at Michigan most years. Certainly any of the last few. And now it turns out it's not. And that sucks because there was intent there, right?
Yep.
But, I like that a lot better than, there's a lot there, but you're watching a lot of these SEC teams saying, well, strength of schedule. Welcome the UTEP Miners and the UMass Minutemen. Georgia played a schedule, so they're getting UMass. But, maybe, I would like to see the reward for schedule. To me, Kirby Smart, here's your pitch. Stop talking about how people don't tear down the committee. Say how many quality wins you have is what should be most important. They played 5 great teams, and Penn State played 1 or 2, or Indiana's going to play 1. That's who you should be arguing against. And I think you have a very compelling case. I just think that is a sound case to sit there and say, look, man, we had 1 home game against those 5 teams. And it was Tennessee, right? They beat Clemson on the road or at neutral site, and the other 3 are on the road.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He's not wrong about that. The Kirby Smart delivery, you can't yell at everyone like he's your sophomore linebacker that forgot.
He doesn't know any way to do it, Dan.
Look, he's far more successful human being than me, okay? But little tact. You got the facts on your side, buddy. You got the side.
Yeah.
Got it. Go Dogs.
Yeah.
But you don't got to scream at him like you're a bunch of idiots. So it was the kid were cheers with Ward Manuel and that kid who was celebrating with his friends from Alabama, Ole Miss.
They're both idiots.
Idiots! What an idiot! You're not necessarily wrong. I'm just saying there's another tack to take.
Yeah, the old, yes, you don't know football tack was not, I don't think, a very good one.
Dan, we saw the committee do what you're talking about just last year, put in Alabama over Florida State. When it came out, I know they used the quarterback injury thing, right, too. But if you looked at those schedules, obviously, those two teams played vastly different schedules, and Alabama had certainly more bigger wins and all that. So they did it. And it'll be interesting to see, if they'll do it again when it comes to at-large teams for these, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 seeding.
All right, we'll be back right after this. All right, Big 12 race is, as we said all year, it's very interesting, and it is causing some potential peril in their playoff bid. They will get a team in. It's just where you getting seated. So Kansas beats BYU late Saturday night. If you didn't stay up for the late BYU comeback, perfect season, which seemed to be like it's pretty much just happened at about 1:30 a.m. every week. You didn't miss anything, nor did you miss anything watching John Jones beat the hell out of Stipe Miocic, which we knew, or Jake Paul. I don't know whatever happened with Mike Tyson. What a weekend for late night debauchery. Kind of my specialty. BYU is the only one that disappointed. Kansas beat him, so BYU's got a loss. And that Colorado looked terrific in beating Utah. This is what I like about the playoff. Colorado's got 2 losses. Ain't nobody having more fun than Colorado right now. That was a party out there. Maybe it's because all the fans finally woke up by the third quarter, and so like the beauty of starting a game at 10 a.m. is you can start the post game celebration at like 1:30. Plenty of time to get your day drinking in celebration. Even better, right? The post tailgate is better with victory. Yeah. Colorado is headed. They control their destiny to get to the Big 12 title game. So still doesn't BYU. They have 1 loss, but so doesn't Arizona State, which went to Kansas State, went into Manhattan and played a tremendous game, won 24-14. Wildcats made a comeback late, but could never really get it too close. And this Sun Devil team is legit. They are 8-2, and they are 5-2 in the Big 12, and they host BYU next Saturday in Tempe, biggest game in Tempe in years. And again, this is what the playoff does. Is in a football stadium, there'll be a massive game that would not have been a massive game. You would have had to try to Kenny Dillingham, their coach, would have been spending all week on Phoenix radio. Go, no, but see, we still got a shot at the bit. Now you can be like, hey, we win, we got a shot at the playoff. We're gonna play Coach Prime for the playoff or something like that. They'll still, that place will be jammed. That's what's awesome. But this Arizona State team now is on a rise. I'll let Ross explain the potential playoff problems for the Big 12 with this. But Kenny Dillingham is the youngest coach in the country, and he got that job because he's extremely energetic. He went to Arizona State. He's from Phoenix. He believes in this thing like no one else. Activate the Valley. But he's also the QB whisperer. He is the QB guy. And he got Bo Nix kind of when he was at Oregon, and he got Jordan Travis going when he was assistant at Florida State, and he's getting something out of Sam Leavitt, who had basically bailed out on Michigan State, and nobody was shedding too many tears in East Lansing. He had 3 touchdowns, 275 yards. Cam Scadaboo came back from injury, rushed hard. And this Arizona State team is really good and really fun and really interesting to see as they gotten better over the course of this season. And a Arizona State, no offense BYU, but an Arizona State Colorado game in the Big 12 title game would be a hell of a football game. Pat, what do you think of these Sun Devils?
Amazing. Unbelievable. Until BYU lost, and still really legitimately, you have 3 National Coach of the Year candidates in one league, in my opinion. Kalani Sitake, Deion Sanders, and Kenny Dillingham. And I don't know which one you say has done better because they've all done unbelievable things with teams that were picked like, I don't know, somewhere between 12th and 16th, I think, in the league.
ASU, 16. Last. Picked last.
Yeah, that program was kind of left for dead when Dillingham got there. They had just accepted a postseason ban, which nobody even does anymore. And they, still scraped and fought hard and had a respectable season last year. Still, nobody expected them to take a big leap forward this year. And they have. You mentioned the players that they're getting great things out of. When I've watched them, they just play with incredible energy and intensity. They play like their hair is on fire. That guy knows how to tap into young people, perhaps because he's a young person himself, and to get the most out of them. I mean, Dillingham he is such an obvious rising star in this business. He's an ASU alum. I don't know whether that means he's going to stay at ASU forever, because there's going to be people that want him for sure and want to throw big piles of cash at him. But it's just a fantastic story there. It's a fantastic story at Colorado. It's a fantastic story at BYU that hit a bit of a reality check last night. They'd flirted hard with losing for a long time. They finally did. We'll see if they can avoid it further. But those three teams in Iowa State still hanging around too. Two of those four are going to the Big 12 championship game. And the winner is going to be a heck of a story. We'll see, if they fall out of the automatic bye, it's possible the Big 12 champion ends up behind a Boise State, and Boise State jumps into the top 4 seeds. It's not out of the question, I don't think, at all now, especially with them no longer having an undefeated team. But that doesn't mean the next couple of weeks in the Big 12 championship game aren't going to be a hell of a lot of fun.
Big 12 worst nightmare probably is what's starting to happen, where they don't have an undefeated team, and it has the makings of their champion even having maybe 2 losses, and so that probably cuts out the runner-up and leaves them as a one bid league, like we kind of all thought right before the season. I think most people thought that the ACC had the best chance to have a second team in. The Big 12 had certainly a lower chance. If Arizona State beats BYU next week, and Iowa State wins out and everybody else kind of wins out, Colorado obviously would be in the championship game against potentially one of three teams, right? Iowa State, Arizona State, and BYU would all be locked, I think, tied.
So Arizona State does not control its destiny? Iowa State could still get in?
Iowa State, they would have 2 losses. Yeah, you're right. Conference losses.
Man.
Yeah, so they don't control.
Apologies
now,
for the water.
Scenario,
Apologies for the water. I thought you were out.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah. Sorry,
that's
Ames.
Okay. Yeah,
I love you.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Now, there are incredible – I'm on a website right now that where you can mess around with the Big 12 tiebreaker scenario and do like win out things, and you can see, who could get in.
That guy needs a hobby.
This is where we are, Dan. This is where we are. So
Big12tiebreaker.com. What is this thing? No,
it's big12.biw.app. I don't know what that is. Max Olson of ESPN tweeted out a link. I clicked the link. I'm here. It's really cool, actually. It gives you all these options to do like win out.
It's not a Russian hacker.
Yeah, you can also buy illegal bazookas off the dark web.
It could be a Russian hacking.
Yeah.
It could.
Ross no longer has a 401k.
There's a possibility of
but
that
he's aware
happening.
that Arizona State and Iowa State's.
So if you do Arizona State, Colorado, and Iowa State winning out, Colorado's in the championship game, obviously, and in Arizona State and Iowa State, this gives it each a 50% chance for each of those teams of getting in. So you have to go down this tiebreaker.
That's a fake website.
I don't know.
No, it's true. Go ahead.
You're killing me. But yeah, I mean, it gives they don't quite control their own destiny. I think the first tiebreaker would be for those teams would be like their win percentage against common opponents in the league. So you have to do all that math. So it could get really kind of crazy. It looks like in that scenario, Iowa State right now, this says Iowa State right now would actually leap Arizona State and be in the championship game. So don't forget about the
All right,
Cyclones.
I'm sorry.
Dan. Don't
Yeah,
forget.
I apologize,
Don't
Ross.
forget about the
Good checking
Cyclones.
on me. No, and it's
Yeah,
true probably because it'll be down to like, did Baylor beat like? So every game now will matter in the last
Yes,
week.
That's right.
Right. Well,
That's right.
you know, my
Yeah.
win percentage will get 0.1%. Regard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Big doings. Did you see any of the Colorado scene, Pat?
Yeah, I watched quite a bit of that, and it looked a lot like the scene from last year when in September when it was the biggest party in the country, and just riveting and fun and a little crazy. It was great, and that's to see a place that had been dormant for decades just spring to life. That's Coach Prime, but that's also winning, and they've done that this year. Now 10 for 10, outscoring their opponents in the second half. Shadur started off very poorly. They fell behind 7-0, and their offense really wasn't very good in the first half. But this is not a team that any longer is dependent on outscoring people or just having one way to score. They had a punt return touchdown that was huge. They forced turnovers. That was huge. They're a complete team. They're not totally dominant, but they ain't bad. They are not bad. They keep winning by double digits. They're 8-2. They have earned what they've gotten, and that's right now to control their own destiny to go to the Big 12 playoff game. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, we talked about all these tiebreakers and stuff, and Colorado needs no tiebreaker, right? They are the one school in the Big 12 that controls its own destiny, which is crazy to say. I don't know that we would be think about after the Colorado-Nebraska game earlier this year. Colorado went there and lost, that we'd be talking about Colorado as a Big 12 championship game participant, in Nebraska as a team that hasn't reached bowl eligibility. But here we are. But talking to Dan, we got off the show talking about the CFP and schedule strength and conference strength comparisons. It's things like Colorado's loss to Nebraska, right, that the Big Ten, right, would use as saying C, right? You got to put our teams in, all that stuff. So, but it is crazy what Deion Sanders has done there. And I don't know that anybody would have expected that given their start to the year. It's been pretty phenomenal. And I'm almost certain, it feels like to me, guys, that Travis Hunter locked up the Heisman, yesterday. And I'm guessing his appearance in the Big 12 championship game will only help, although I think the votes are due even before that, right before that game.
No, we get to vote after.
After the game now? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So there you go.
I just need to see another 127 snaps out of the guy to see whether he's a good football player. Listen, I think it was week 2 or 3 that I said, bet him.
Yeah.
There was a time when Garrett Nussmeier had better odds. No offense to Garrett, but you're not Travis Hunter. Nice.
Yeah.
I was early adopter on this. He had to. I thought he had to play like 10 games. He's going to do that. Even if they didn't win, I thought this is the most remarkable player. Chris Gamble at Ohio State kind of did this to a degree for a number of games, but that's it. Back in the day, all the talk of Woodson and that was not like this. This guy's doing things you can't do. And now that they're winning, and he's 55 yards yesterday, a reception touchdown, a rushing touchdown, an interception. He did get beat on a play, gave up his first touchdown. That's it, penalized. I mean,
yeah, you would have thought that made him terrible, according to some people.
Oh my God, he gave up. Like, yeah, all right, fine. This guy's
He's not really very good.
Don't overthink this. I have no offense to the other kid. Ashton Genty's incredible. I watched that game again last night. Like, they can just, he's probably the most valuable player, even though he only plays one position. Because they just when they need him, they just go to him, and he just wins them games. And they had a great second half. Boise State played a great game last night. But you're going to sit there the rest of you go, wait, we didn't give this guy the what? So the guy who was the 3rd round pick in the draft could get for history's sake, my Lord, we're not going to see another one of these. He's playing 130 snaps a game. I don't even know how he's healthy. Go ahead, Pat.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think Colorado put out the stat last night. The first player, college or pro, to have a rushing touchdown and an interception in the same game, and like X number of receptions since Champ Bailey in 2000 with the Washington's former Redskins, now Commanders.
I would have thought it would have been ever. My goodness.
Yeah, well,
but there's Champ Bailey. Like, this is who we're talking about. Bailey,
Pat,
Woodson.
Exact.
Give me the exact.
I got it. So Travis Hunter is the first player in either the NFL or FBS to have 50 receiving yards, 1 rushing touchdown, and an interception in the same game since Champ Bailey in the NFL in December of 2000.
Yeah, and his stamina is incredible. The fact that he has not broken down and the fact the team is winning. Like, what are we even talking about here? He is an elite receiver and he's an elite defensive back, and nobody else can even come close to saying that. You mentioned Chris Gamble, and Chris Gamble did a lot of the same things, but he wasn't the receiver that Hunter is. He had receptions, but he doesn't have. What does Hunter have? Like 70 receptions on the season? I mean, he's one of the leading receivers in the country. So this is truly something we haven't seen since, I think I wrote it back early in the season, like Paul Hornung in the 1950s at Notre Dame.
I mean, he's got 3 of the top 5 catches of the season, on one side of the ball. I mean, the other 2 probably Jeremiah Smith. But it's remarkable. And he made another one acrobatic in the air, right? On Saturday. Yeah. Just incredible.
Gamble started on offense and defense 5 times in 2002.
Yeah. And
for Ohio State, and had some huge plays in some huge games. And that was a national title team, right? They won it that year, pretty sure.
Yes, they did.
Yes,
they did.
And that was the other one. Yeah. And so he is a legend because of that. But no offense to Chris Gamble, but 5 isn't, if this kid's going to start, whatever, 12 or 13 or whatever he's going to start. This is just an unbelievable thing. And according to Coach Prime, straight A student doesn't smoke weed and doesn't drink. I like you brought that up. Do you see that in the post-game interview on the field?
I mean, in Colorado, it's, legitimate.
It's legal. It's all legal. What the darn, Coach?
It'd be okay. If he wants to smoke some weed, go right ahead.
You do 130 snaps.
He seems to have earned it. Yeah.
I mean, all you got to do is be on the field there after a game, and you're going to feel like you smoked weed.
Yeah, that's right.
Doesn't need to. Yeah. That's right. Boulder is a contact high at all times.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, okay, this is where we're going down this road. We're going down this road. All right, we'll be back with small sample Heisman now that we gave out the big one, and so we're going to say something nice. All right, we got Travis Hunter for the main Heisman. Perhaps we'll see. These are 2 voters. I don't vote. I don't vote for important things like Heisman. Unqualified. See, Kirby's right. I don't know ball. I'm an idiot on a podcast. What do I know? I don't know ball, Kirby. I'll be your media strategist, but I don't know anything about this. But we do pick weekly ones. I feel qualified for that. Small sample Heisman goes out. Pat, who's your small sample Heisman?
Oh, this is one of my favorite ones ever. The thick 6 of the year, the big man touchdown, the fat man touchdown of the year. Willie Miles, Southern University, Scotlandville High School, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In their game Saturday, quarterback is hit, ball is on the ground, and here comes Willie to pick it up. And if you haven't seen the video of Willie in motion, oh my, please find it. Willie goes 5'9", 350. That is a stout, short but stout young man. 5'9", 350. Yes. His legs are the biggest things you've ever seen. And he starts to run with the ball. And here comes the belly out from under the shirt. And this is a Dunlap belly. It done fell in his lap. All right. I mean, it's hanging down there. It is flopping, and he gets almost to the goal line and almost gets tackled. Kind of gets turned around backward, and we start to see a little crack of his rear at that point coming out. It's like his pants are almost going to come off. We had the Beaver Moon over the weekend. We almost had the Willie Moon there on his way to the end zone. He turned back around and he scored, and he was so excited, as well he should have been. And Southern clinched a spot in the SWAC championship game. Beautiful moment. Fantastic. Southern on their website has this picture of Willie carrying the ball in his left hand, throwing a stiff arm with the right, like this is his dream. I am a running back all of a sudden at 350 on his way to the end zone. Willie Miles, small sample Heisman of the day, the week, the year, the lifetime.
Well, we can't top that one.
No.
Can't top that one. The video is amazing. There's a whole lot of things moving. He runs. There's a lot of shaking going on. A little shake and bake there. My small sample Heisman is to a new guy on the scene. Got his first start, Jaden Maeva of USC. Threw for 260, three touchdowns, and even ran the ball pretty well as well. A couple of big first down runs. And they beat Nebraska, USC did, and that actually moved to 5-5. Look at there. One more win closer. And he replaced Miller Moss, of course, we all know, for starting quarterback. And, starting quarterback at USC is not an easy thing, especially playing in a power conference game as your first game. And so give me Jaden Maeva for a little bit of small sample there.
Not bad. My small sample Heisman is going to go to Mateo Uiagalelei, DJ's younger brother. We'll not call him little brother. 6'5", 270. He is a defensive end for Oregon, and he had a hell of a game against Wisconsin. Ducks survive Camp Randall and their third trip back and forth that we were wondering if it would wear them out. They win 16-13. For all the talk of the Dan Lanning offense, all the talk of Dylan Gabriel and the Ducks offense, it is their defense that is playing really well, and it is their defense that won this one. And Uiagalelei will win it for his whole team, but he had 5 tackles, 4 of them solo. He had a sack, and he had an incredible reaction on a deflected ball at the end of the game to get a interception. You don't see a lot of 270 interceptions that are graceful. This usually those ones kind of like the ball just goes firing into their helmet. It like sticks in the space. He's got soft hands. Makes this interception on the final drive where Wisconsin still could have gone down to win the game. A couple series before, he dropped back into coverage and stopped a little slant kind of route. I'm going to forget the play. It was a brutal hit but Wisconsin could not get anything going against this Duck defense, especially late. They had this big drive, got up, Camp Randall's rolling, jumping around, the whole thing, and it looked like Oregon could get beat, and the Duck defense just shut it down. And really, really impressive performance by Oregon, and something that I think bodes extremely well for this team as they go forward, whether it's playing Ohio State or whomever in the Big Ten title game or getting to the playoff. This is not just a one-sided all-offense thing. This is a complete football team, and woo! So enjoy your Heisman, Mateo. All right, we've said a lot of mean things on here. Not as mean as Kirby. Should guest meet say something nice. The Kirby Smart edition. But we can say something nice. So who's got something nice to say?
I do. I'm going to say something nice about Washington quarterback Will Rogers. If you saw their game Friday night against UCLA, Washington was winning in the second half. Rogers came out and threw 2 bad picks in a row. Linebackers just dropping, spying him, reading his eyes, and he's throwing it right to the Bruins. Washington ended up winning the game. Defense bailed out Rogers. But here's what happened. Jed Fish benched Will Rogers after the second interception. And he went with his backup, DeMond Williams, whose boy is he talented. Oh, my. Athletic and a live arm. And he made some really big plays and helped them win the game. But Will Rogers was the most excited guy and the biggest cheerleader on the Washington sideline after he got benched. He's out in the huddle, and he's telling everybody, let's go. He's smacking Williams on the rear end. Let's go. Good job. Let's go. Let's go. He was a positive energy force at a time when he could have been sulking on the sideline. And that stood out especially in comparison to what happened in Boston over the weekend when Thomas Castellanos, who had been the starting quarterback, was benched and quit the team. And maybe Will Rogers, if he doesn't start this week, will quit the team. But as of what I saw Friday night, he was all in and willing to help his teammates win. And Castellanos got benched last week and announced this week that he was no longer going to be part of the Boston College team. And I'm sorry I didn't like that. That rubbed me the wrong way, that just because you get benched doesn't mean you quit. Certainly doesn't seem like a recipe for learning from some adversity. So I'm out of here. And I'm sure somebody else will take him. He's a talented quarterback. Maybe there's more to the story, but that's what the story as I understood it. And just because things don't go your way doesn't mean you quit the team. And we see so many people moving around all the time. This was another example of where you wonder how much people actually care about anything other than their own playing time or their own statistics. But Will Rogers didn't look like that guy Friday night, helping his team the best he could while not playing the game. So saying something nice about him.
Interesting, yeah. I wonder how much that impacts the transfer market for him, too. I mean, I know he's a good player, but if you're a coach, it's not like you're coming in and he's guaranteed starter unless he's stepping lower, right?
Right, yeah. He's undersized. This guy's like,
well, it's just like the UNLV situation.
Yeah.
Right. The UNLV quarterback.
Yeah. Although at least he was saying, I didn't get my money.
Oh, right.
This was, I'm not playing. I quit.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm going to say something nice about New Mexico, Dan. Not often we've talked about the Lobos, probably. And Bronco Mendenhall, another probably name we haven't talked about a whole lot on the pod recently. He's been out of coaching for a couple of years. Got back in, first year coach at New Mexico. He was I think he has a horse farm or something. He was raising horses for the last couple of years and got back in it. And he has turned around a program that has spent a lot of time in the cellar. New Mexico's have 2 winning seasons, I think, in the last 18 years. And they have a chance this year to get to bowl eligibility and get to a winning season after knocking off Washington State 38-35 in a wild one late last night. Washington State hadn't lost since September. And New Mexico Downs, and was the first win over a ranked team in New Mexico history. So really something incredible that Broncos done in his first year there. Yes, I believe so.
Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
I knew it was a while.
That was the note
wow.
that I saw. I believe they were 0 for against against ranked teams.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think accidentally one time you would have beaten somebody.
I mean, I think they started the AP poll in 1933.
36, I believe.
Yeah.
30. I mean, at some point, you beat a Texas Tech team in the old border conference or something. They slipped in at 19 back in '68.
I was making sure that's right. Yeah, that is right. Yeah, that's pretty wild. Well, I mean,
Lobos.
If you look at New Mexico's history, right? I mean, it's bad.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
It's tough.
They've just gone long stretches. I mean, right now they haven't won more than 3 games since 2016. 3 games, and so they're 5-6 right now, and they've got a pretty nifty quarterback, Devin Dampier. He ran for almost 200 yards last night. Threw for 170. Pretty incredible, pretty electric player. in the era of the transfer portal and NIL and all that good stuff. Hopefully they can keep him on the team going forward. But yeah, Lobos.
Well, I'm going to say something nice about a guy. He will not win National Coach of the Year, you mentioned earlier, Pat, but he's a candidate, and that is Syracuse coach Fran Brown. This was an incredible hire by Syracuse. They are now 7-3. They went to Cal and won 33-25. Couple interceptions led the way. Just a terrific victory. But what I'm really, Kyle McCord, I think, is the completion leader in college football. You got him off the portal. He's brought all these guys in. Recruiting's going well. There's a ton of energy around Syracuse football, and they're going to play Miami in 2 weeks. They get UConn and then Miami in what will be a sneaky big. That won't be sneaky anymore, but you probably weren't pointing to that as the final weekend clash. Miami's got to go into that dome on that final weekend with, everything in front of them and play a really good Syracuse team. But what I really want to talk about is earlier this season after a loss, Fran Brown talked about the way he handles losses. And he's so upset that he just wants to get home and start watching tape. And he does not take a post-game shower. Says I doesn't deserve a shower. I don't deserve soap.
Those around you do deserve you to have
yeah.
soap, though, probably.
Yeah.
Don't deserve soap after a loss because he let the team down. Does not deserve soap. So he comes home stinking. They later asked, well, how does that affect the people in your house? My wife, I can't sleep in bed if we lose because I'm not going to get in the shower for that day. I'm just mad.
Oh, dear.
So this is the second shower incident we've had. Well, shower story. I don't call it an incident. We had Kirk Ferentz saying he was dreaming of his punter while in the shower or thinking of his punter. Now we have Fran Brown saying, I don't shower after a loss. This is the hygiene. We need some hygiene lessons here. I don't know. Really, I think Fran should listen to Kirk. Kirk is a veteran coach. He's made it a very long time in his career. When things aren't going well, you still shower. You just find the one good thing you do, which is punt. And that gets you through the shower. So I encourage Fran Brown to shower, but he didn't. He does it after losses. Fortunately, for Mrs. Brown, there's only been 3. And
yeah, right.
On the field at the Cal game, he wins, and he was asked about it, and he unleashed this motto that is better. Like, this is like row the boat, man. Winners get washed.
Oh, that's tremendous.
Winners get washed. He was going to celebrate with a post-game shower before flying his ass all the way back from Berkeley to Syracuse, which I'm sure the entire plane was excited about. Winners get washed.
That is tremendous. Outstanding.
Go Orange. So,
God bless coaches.
God bless them. All right, we'll be back Tuesday. Oh, what else? You got an extra one?
Do we have 30 seconds just to recap the disaster that Louisville perpetrated at Stanford?
Oh, hell yeah. Let's say something mean.
God.
Let's say something mean.
Something mean.
Say something nice about Stanford. For their only 2 ACC wins, 1 walk-off field goals. The other was against Syracuse. Ain't no showering after that one. But this, oh my God, Jeff Brom should not shower for a month after this. Louisville, playing a very bad Stanford team, has blown a 2-touchdown lead and is tied and could just take things to overtime. They got a 4th and 10 with 10 seconds left from the Stanford 45. Again, punt the ball, play for overtime. They decided to try to throw a Hail Mary, and maybe you get a touchdown and maybe the clock runs out, except, it's incomplete and the clock didn't run out. And so there's 4 seconds left and Stanford gets the ball at midfield.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and so Stanford throws a 1-yard pass, but a Louisville defensive back commits an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty on the play.
Oh, my.
And all of a sudden, you're at the Louisville 39, and your kicker comes in and hits a 52-yarder at the gun to win the game. Yeah, Louisville called timeout to decide to throw the Hail Mary, come up with that stratagem, doesn't run out the clock, gives over the ball, commits an unsportsmanlike penalty, loses on a kick.
Wow. Don't you run around? Don't you run around for 5 seconds and then throw the Hail Mary?
You think?
Wow.
You think?
That is wild.
Yeah.
I'll say
All
something nice. I'm going to say another nice thing. It didn't work out. But the UMass Minutemen scoreboard operator, see that one?
No.
Okay, they're in overtime against Liberty. 34-34. Liberty scores a TD, but they can kick. UMass had missed the extra point. And then to try to distract the kicker, they put a big video of Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm in a Minuteman costume. At some point, he wore saluting, and that was that attempted to distraction with Larry David.
Awesome.
Did it work?
Did not. The Liberty, all credit to whoever kicked this thing.
Survived Larry David.
You survived Larry David and won the thing. It was Colin Carhu. He should have had a small sample Heisman for not laughing in the middle of his kick. Because anything Larry David's a little like Will Ferrell. Anything he does is just funny.
Yes.
And that was good. So kind of off the rails now. Just thought about that. What a way to lose a game.
What a way to end a podcast.
What a way to end a podcast. We're back Tuesday. Talk more stuff. Big week ahead. Indiana, Ohio State, a lot of stuff. Second to last week of the season. I mean, we gotta covet these. We gotta covet these. I'm getting already getting nervous. It's sad.
Klimped.
It's sad. Yeah. All right. We will. Thanks for sharing us on social media, telling your friends about us, and listening every time, even if it's only for a few minutes. We will talk to you later.